the member is leading on to the second point I want to make about fairness in a moment or two, but let me just finish this point. Those are the two sides of the argument in this. And I think that the assessment, it's a subjective assessment, because there is not, I'll give it a moment or two, it's a subjective assessment because we are not presented with any conclusive evidence in the report that we have before us that, first of all, the financial markets are so nervous that we have got to take the kind of deep draconian action at the moment, or on the other hand, that there is an assurance that the reduction in the amount of money which is going into the economy as a result of public spending cuts will not have that impact on economic growth. But I will give way to the member.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I do think we should try and talk about the budget that was actually presented. The total spending in 2009-10, the last year of the last government, was £669 billion. And the forecast total spending of the last year of this government, if it runs for 5 years, is £737 billion. So that is an increase of about £77 billion over the period. What is he talking about?
Well, I mean, first of all, the member has quoted the figure for spending. He hasn't, of course, quoted the figures for taxation or indeed for the deficit. And bringing down the deficit, of course, because that money was borrowed to pump back into the economy, the amount of money which is going into the economy will be substantially less. It's a subjective assessment, because and we don't have any clear picture in the report as to what the likely impact is going to be. And I think that the first thing, and perhaps only time will tell, and I suppose that's that will be the test. At least we now have an independent body reporting on whether or not the measures will be effective. But only time will tell as to whether or not the risk which has been taken today is a risk which will pay off and will balance the economy quickly. And I will give way to the member.
I'm very grateful to the honourable member for giving way. On the point that he is making, is he aware of the paper that was published by Goldman Sachs on the 14th of April, which reviewed every major fiscal correction in the OECD since 1975 and concluded, and I quote, "We find that decisive budgetary adjustments that are focused on reducing government expenditure have typically boosted growth."
And again, I think the context in which those adjustments take place is important. The speed at which they happen is important. And I'm not making. All I'm doing at the moment is saying that one of the ways in which this budget will have to be judged is how effective is it going to be. And I don't think that we have in the report, nor indeed in the assurances given by the Chancellor today, any firm assessment, if indeed it can be given, any firm assurance that it is going to be effective. I will certainly, yes.
I would suggest a member looks at the report given by the Independent Office of Budget Responsibility, which is in the Red Book, that just set out the impact on growth of the package proposed by the Chancellor today, and suggests that compared to their work prior to the budget, that post-2012, GDP growth will be stronger than they initially estimated.
And I think that all of us, because, I don't, and I think I made the point at the very start, as far as I'm concerned, this is not about scoring political points of the party opposite. The party opposite do not present any threat to us in Northern Ireland. Yeah. This is all about ensuring that the citizens of the United Kingdom do not have to live in the economic doldrums for a long period of time. I hope that the assurance which is given, I hope that the projections which have been quoted are correct. But I think that it is right to at least look at both sides of this argument and to make an assessment on that. Should it be delayed, or should we jump in the way in which we've done? The second thing, and the second way in which we will judge this, is on the basis of fairness. And that fairness I look at in two ways. First of all, is it fair to individuals? And secondly, is it fair to specific regions of the United Kingdom? Now, on the second point, as the intervention from the honourable friend behind has indicated, is extremely important to people in Northern Ireland. Because before the election, and I know that he has tried to explain it away, I know that he has tried to qualify what he said, the Prime Minister did make it clear that on a Newsnight interview that Northern Ireland was heavily dependent upon the public sector. It's a fact. But the implication was that as a result of that, Northern Ireland would be targeted. Now, and that, I believe, was one of the reasons, of course, why I don't know how well they would have done, but why the alliance between the Ulster Unionist Party and the Conservative Party failed so miserably. Because people in Northern Ireland were extremely nervous that we were going to be treated in that part of the United Kingdom unfairly. I've looked at the proposals which are in the budget today. There is to be a regional fund that will not apply to Northern Ireland. It will make money available immediately, but it will not apply to Northern Ireland or Scotland either, or Wales, only apply to England. There have been infrastructure projects which have been guaranteed spending on them. None of them apply to Northern Ireland. There has been a promise that in the autumn we will have a report which will look at how the Northern Ireland economy might be rebalanced, and it will include an examination of proposals on economic enterprise zones, possible mechanism for changing the corporation tax rate, and other economic reform options. I look forward, and I'm sure that the Northern Ireland Executive will look forward to that particular paper, but I notice that it is simply going to be a paper examining options, examining proposals. And I suppose for those of us in Northern Ireland who are looking at restructuring the economy, who were restructuring the economy, I mean, there was a genuine attempt, I think, by the Northern Ireland Executive to restructure the economy using public policy, using public spending, trying to build up the infrastructure, trying to get people economically active by giving them new skills and preparing them for work, etc. Now, the reduction in public spending is going to have an impact on the ability to do that, because it did require that pump priming. And I think that we will look to see how quickly the impact of the reductions in public spending are replaced by some of the proposals which have been contained in the promise of the paper on rebalancing the economy. It is important to us. I think it's something which we want to drive forward, but it is going to be made more difficult by some of the announcements today, and I will give way, yes.
I thank the honourable member for East Antrim for giving way. Does he recognise that in the autumn, whenever this report is published on proposals, a consultation document for rebalancing the Northern Ireland economy, at around the same time, the Executive and the Assembly will be finding out what the outcome is of the review to take place on the comprehensive spending round in relation to the departmental expenditure limits, which will have an effect on what Northern Ireland gets out of the Barna formula. And of course, this budget also today projects serious reductions in annually managed expenditure in the form of social security benefits. And those two squeezes combined on Northern Ireland could have a high economic impact that would make what's in a consultation document pretty irrelevant.